The other thing that's great about goals is that you got to know where you're going, but then you got
Mm-hmm.
to know if you're actually getting there.
Yeah.
And you can't really know that unless you have a clear target.
All right, well, welcome to Kickin with Kapok. Today we're joined by Patrick S. Weston. He has an MBA from Northwestern Kellogg School of Management and an MD from the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine. And he's a board-certified cardiologist and internist, and also the founder and managing partner of Westrock Investments. That's a lot of credentials.
I know. Patrick is one of those smart people, and I feel like the biggest simpleton ever. So, welcome, Patrick. And I guess we should mention that we've actually known you for, I think it was a year last month. A year ago,
Really?
you walked into our office with your business advisor, and we thought, oh my God, this guy is for real. Like, he really wants to talk to us.
Wow.
So, and a year later, here we are doing a podcast together. So, welcome. And is there anything else you want to add, tell us, or anything else you want to share with us?
Well, thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this. It's hard to believe that it's been a year. Or
I know.
It seems
Yeah.
like it's been actually longer than a year, but
I think it was a year last month.
wow,
I know.
wow.
Crazy.
I think you guys covered just about everything.
Nothing else?
That's the high points, I suppose.
Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about the highs today, not the lows. Okay. Well, I guess let's just dive right in and let's talk about, obviously you're a doctor, you're also a business person. So tell us about the intersection between business and medicine and how the two go together and how being a doctor helps you be a better businessman and anything else smart that you want to sprinkle in.
Yeah, well, I guess the place to start would be kind of, how I got here.
Okay.
I started out as a science major, very curious mind. I'm kind of a, science geek. I was kind of, I was actually the social chair of of the microbiology club.
Oh my gosh,
makes any-
that
if
is
that
kind of a big deal.
If that makes any sense to you.
Yeah, a little bit.
Imagine that.
Okay.
Always liked science though, and went to medical school, did my training, and then at some point decided that there's a lot more to be done in medicine, and there's a lot more that I can do, and I kind of started to start to understand the bigger pictures of medicine. It's a huge industry. I think the last time I looked, the U.S. spends like $3.5 trillion on healthcare expenditures. It's a huge number. Wow. And if you think about the delivery of healthcare, it includes a lot of different things. So as a physician, you get to learn how to take care of patients, but there's a ton that you just aren't exposed to. You just don't come to know. And a lot of the other things, that includes makes up medicine, just really interests me. So I decided to go to business school, which really opened my eyes to this whole world of business and finance and the importance to not just medicine, but a lot of different industries. And the interesting thing was that in my business school class, there was, I can't remember the exact number, I think it was like something like 12 or 15 physicians out of, 70 people or so.
Oh, wow.
So it made up the largest, segment of the class.
That's very surprising,
Yeah.
actually. I would have never guessed that.
Right, and I think that speaks to the way that medicine has changed. So when you talk about the intersection of, business and medicine, nowadays, I mean, you really have to be really focused on, the bottom line in medicine, whether or not you're a solo practitioner, whether you're a health system or, you're a large, multi-hospital health system or something like that. I mean, really, it's about taking care of patients, but it really comes down to dollars and cents. If you can't really manage your finances, you're not going to be able to take care of patients.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's some famous song that says, "If it don't make money, it don't make sense." So I guess that applies to medicine too. So
That's right.
that makes
and
sense.
on a larger level, you start to think about how we as a country are going to pay for all this stuff. I think the other number I saw was, on average, the average American spends something like 12 or 15% of their gross income on healthcare expenditures. And
it's crazy.
It's very, very expensive.
Very expensive.
So anyway, getting back to your question, the intersection for me was kind of understanding how medicine fits into a larger picture, basically.
Okay.
And it's been really helpful for me.
Okay. And now that you have been on both sides, so when you think of yourself, do you think of yourself as a doctor or do you think of yourself as a businessman?
Or which one do you think of first?
Yeah, that's a good question. I try not to put myself in a box.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
I think I'm an individual who has a lot of different skill sets.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer.
Okay. That's a good answer. Patrick is going all like proper and political on me. So. I thought I was going to get you, but I can't. I couldn't. Okay. All right.
Do you think being a doctor gives you an edge up in business or vice versa? Does, having a business education help you with being a doctor?
I think it can help you being a doctor. It really depends. I know a lot of doctors, say you work for a hospital system, you're really focused on taking care of patients. You don't have a clue what the finances or what the insurance or the numbers or anything like that looks like, and it really doesn't matter to you. Whereas there are other like my wife, who is a solo practitioner. She's practicing and she has to be very aware of what her numbers are looking like on a weekly basis. So it really depends. There's a lot of doctors who work in insurance, doctors who work in in industry like pharmaceutical industries, stuff like that. Physicians who work within government on a state level or a federal level. So I mean, it really depends. Is the answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we should talk about WestRock Investments, and Patrick can tell us a little bit about that. And
what's WestRock Investments exactly?
What is it? What does it do? This is, Patrick 2.0 with WestRock Investments. So tell us.
Yeah, it really came out of my business, my love of business, and the way that it started. It really started while I was in business school. I wanted to develop I think of it as an entity for my investments. And I've sort of done that. I've funded it basically with my own money, and then used WestRock as a vehicle to invest in other businesses. And as it grows, and as the businesses that it invests in grows, that will provide more capital for making more investments and for attracting investors. And so that's kind of how it started, and sort of that's the trajectory. Right now, I've been sort of focused in the healthcare space. As you all know, I started a company with a partner of mine, and that company focuses on clinical research. So that's an investment I've made kind of through WestRock.
Okay.
And then started another company with a couple other physicians that I was working with, where we focus on cost containment for providers.
Okay. All right.
And these providers can be, hospital systems or, health networks or individual provider groups.
All this stuff sounds so smart, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah. And Jake is probably getting super excited about all these things because one of his dreams is to invest in businesses and flip businesses and all of that stuff. Yeah. So I'm sure he has a lot of good questions for you.
Well, I don't know. We'll see. On the website, it talks a lot about principles and values. I know that's important to you. Maybe we could talk a little bit about what that means for WestRock.
Yeah, as an entrepreneur, as a business person, as a business leader, I think one of the most important things that that leaders can do is to be very clear about the principles that they want to establish, and they want to kind of advocate and help to kind of spread throughout an organization. So for me, I spent a lot of time trying to understand, which values and which principles I thought were important. Because, what you realize is that, your product or service may change. It may change from year to year or from decade to decade. The customers' opinions or, definitions of value can change over time. But there has to be something that endures.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys have read a good book. It's it's a little bit technical, but I know you're a reader.
I love books.
But
so tell me,
yeah.
maybe I've read it. I
Yeah.
don't know. What's the name of the book?
Well, so this is it's called House of Morgan by Ron Chernow. He's the guy who wrote Hamilton.
Oh, I haven't read that
He
book. I
became
need
very
to.
famous with Hamilton.
Wow.
And he's
Okay.
written about the Morgans of J.P. Morgan.
Oh, yeah.
fame, and he's written about Rockefeller. He tends to write about kind of business.
Okay.
Business people.
Okay.
But the point I was making was that when he wrote about Morgans, he covered their history, which was more than 100 years. And one of the things that was one of the things that was interesting to me was that if you look at the actual business they were in, it changed from decade to decade, from generation to generation. And so, but the principles had to endure. So, so principles are incredibly important, I think. And so one of the principles, I focused on and kind of helped push in my own organizations was kind of being customer focused, which is super important. And you'd be surprised how many organizations really don't listen well to the customer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's really important. And other things I focused on was like things that I think I've been successful for myself, and things I've read about in other organizations, like goal setting. Goal setting is very important for organizations. It's important for an individual.
Yes.
But then you put a whole bunch of individuals together, and it becomes even more important.
Yeah. How do you keep them on the same page?
Exactly.
And I actually just wrote a blog post about, having the mission and a vision for your company, and then using those two to plan and set goals.
Exactly.
And I don't know what the saying is, but something about, you can't get somewhere if you don't know where you want to go.
That's exactly right.
And really, regardless of the size of your business, you need that. Even if you are just a sole person who's doing, has a lemonade stand on Central Avenue, you have a tiny business, you want to know, where am I taking this thing?
That's right.
And a lot of people overlook that.
Yeah.
A lot of businesses do a good job, but we run into people, it's really hard to convince them to even do a budget, a goal, a plan, any of this stuff. And it's surprising.
That's right.
It's very surprising.
Yeah. The other thing that's great about goals is that you got to know where you're going, but then you got to know if you're actually getting there.
Yeah.
And you can't really know that unless you have a clear target.
Exactly.
Yeah, because and you can kind of track along the way what how well you're doing or how well you're not doing.
Yeah.
Because the failures or the lack of progress is important too.
Yeah, that's where you learn the lessons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think a lot of people are afraid to set a goal because they're afraid that they will not accomplish the goal, and then they will feel so terrible after.
Right.
And but people, they don't realize that even if you fail, you can learn from the failure.
Right.
Not everything is going to be peaches and cream all the time.
Right.
And but yeah, goals are hugely important, and a lot of people just think, oh well, I just want to be successful.
Right.
Well, what does that mean?
Right.
And so yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and it can be difficult in an organization, especially if people are competitive. It can be really difficult for other people to know that you haven't succeeded as you intended to, or as you set out. But like you say, I mean, the value is also in the failure.
Yes.
because it helps you know that you need to change, you need to do something different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the people who have the biggest successes have those failures that predate them, where they learn the lessons that allowed them to be successful. So I think it's not very useful to think about, oh yeah, I failed, like I'm going to get really upset about that. Just focus on the next thing, and you know where you're going to do there.
Yeah, and I read in some book that failure and starting over is healthy for human beings as just like the most basic human beings. There's something valuable in going all the way to the top and kind of crashing to the bottom a little bit. It kind of reminds you that you have it within you to start again, and it's exciting. Right. And so, I mean, not everything that we do here at Kapok Marketing is successful. Some things are great, some are okay, some flop, and we just look at them and say, okay, well, what could we have done differently?
Right.
Also, if you're always succeeding, you're probably running your business incorrectly because you're not taking the right risks.
Yeah, you're playing it too safe.
That's exactly right.
You're missing out. Right. There's so much opportunity out there, and you're just coasting along.
Yep. Yeah.
And some people are happy with that. Mm-hmm. They're just happy with having a little business, and that's all they want to do. And that could be one of your goals. Your exit strategy could be just to do it for a little bit, and then you sell it, whatever the case is. But when it comes time to sell it, you have to show to the buyer that there's value in your business.
But that's also your goal then. Like, then that should be your goal, and you should plan how you're going to achieve that goal.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I think strategic risk is one of the most misunderstood things in business.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I catch myself playing it too safe, and Jake has to come in and say, like, listen, like, I know it's safe to just be under your little, comfort blanket, but no, we really got to do this.
Yep.
And then you do it, and you realize, wow, like, what was I afraid of? This is actually great.
Yeah. There's another good book by John Doerr. Mm-hmm. His book called, it's called, I'm blanking. I think it's called...
Where's a cell phone when we need it?
Measure What Matters.
Measure What Matters. Yeah. Okay.
But it talks about, because he's a venture capitalist, he was one of the early investors in Google. And he got them to implement this system, which they call OKRs, which are objectives and key results.
Okay.
And one of the important things is that you need to, set a goal or set an objective, and then measure, the key result.
That's right.
Setting ambitious goals kind of help you to kind of stretch. You have to work hard to get there.
Yes.
And then their measure of success with goals is that you shouldn't ever complete 100% of your goals.
Then you're done.
Then you're not working hard enough.
Exactly.
You're not pushing yourself hard enough.
You haven't set your goal far enough out there.
Exactly. So they kind of shoot for like a 60 or 70% success rate.
Oh, really?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So not even like 80%, maybe 60. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
So we need to take even more risk, it sounds like.
Oh, I'm getting scared.
Yeah. Measure What Matters. That's the book.
I got to get all these books. Oh, my gosh. I have so many books I need to read and so little time, but I got to get on it. Oh, my gosh.
So that's another point, though, that, I tried to kind of implement was that, you really we need to measure things in business. Maybe the amount of detail varies from business to business, but you got to know what kind of progress you're making. And when you're measuring, when you're getting, useful information from which you can make decisions, then you're able to make, progress. So it's about, figuring out, having some sort of quantitative or even qualitative information, and then use that to kind of make decisions about which way to go or how well you're doing, how well you're not doing.
Yeah. I mean, it all makes sense, and but when it comes time to doing it, it's
the implementation.
I know it's tough, but you have to do it. Yeah. And do you have any other tough questions for Patrick or smart questions?
And maybe just shift gears slightly. So how do you determine at WestRock, like who or what to be investing in? Like it looks like you're mainly in the medical field, but like how do you determine, this is a good business or this is a good person to do business with? Maybe we could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's a tough question to answer. Well, I can try to tackle it, at least the first part of it, kind of how I choose investments. I look for, first of all, I look for strong partners. I think choosing partners are very important, and any investment is really, it's a partnership. You can you can put money in a business or decide to partner with a business, and you can get totally robbed. But over the long term, I think if you focus on people that you really admire, people that you respect, people that you want to be around, people that you're okay with arguing with and having disagreements with, and people that you trust, I mean, I think you're gonna really just do really well over the long term. So that's kind of like rule number one.
I agree.
Makes a lot of sense.
It's so crazy. It's all about trust.
Yeah.
A lot of what happens in business is pretty much selling yourself and building trust with people. And if people don't like who you are, it's going to be tough.
Right.
Even when we just have a client who comes in where they're saying they might want to do some business, and we're like, I'm not sure if this is exactly something we want to get involved in, even though we're just kind of like a vendor, kind of like a partner, but we don't have any like financial risk necessarily if they go out of business or anything like you might as an investor.
Yeah.
But still, it's like, do you want to be working with them?
Right.
Yeah, personally, I always look at people's eyes to see if they have a soul.
Is that right?
Yeah. Like if it's just super like blank behind the eyes and I'm not reading anything, I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm not feeling this.
Right.
There's no soul behind the eyes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a good way to do it, but I always do look at that.
No, I think it's a great way. I mean, because you're basically saying, trust your gut.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like those like subconscious things that you just don't know. You're like, I don't know, this doesn't feel right for some reason.
It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And if we're not gelling, things are not going well, it's like, oh, I don't know if I want to work with this person. That person probably doesn't want to work with me. We're just not on the same page.
Right.
And trust is very important. So what else do you look for?
Yeah, the other thing I was going to add to that was just, try to find partners that you feel that, you want to emulate. People that, I try to find like the smartest people I can find, the hardest working people I can find, and, just ride them till the wheels fall off. You know what I mean?
I'm sucking everything out of you. Give me more.
Because, you surround yourself by good people, and you'd be surprised, the things you can accomplish by surrounding yourself with good people.
Recently, we were talking to, I think, Ryan. He works for the Tampa Bay Rowdies, and he was talking about mentors and, finding smart people. Do you have a mentor?
I have a couple of mentors.
You have a couple of mentors.
Yeah, and I'm always looking for more mentors. I mean, can you have too many great mentors? I don't think so.
I don't know.
But this is something I struggle with all the time. Finding good mentors, and for me, it's a continual search. I mean, honestly, I was just on the phone with someone this morning, and we were talking about that that same issue, and I think there's really not anyone who couldn't benefit from a great mentor. And in our lives today are so so varied. We all of us are into so many different things. Yeah, it's sometimes hard to find a mentor who can really help you in all aspects of your life. So you end up getting mentors and for different areas of your life. Yeah, but I think it's incredibly important. Yeah, but it's challenging. Yes, it can be very challenging.
It is. Yeah. And we were recently talking to someone on one of our podcast episodes, and he was talking about having a board of advisors and people who just come from different, fields of business and who can help you and you can trust and all of that stuff. And he said that you don't have to be a big business to have those people. You don't have to be a super flashy, fancy, rich person to actually have people help you out.
Yeah, I mean, look how important it is for the kid with the lemonade stand. Can you imagine?
I know.
You could talk to your mentor how you're going to take over the neighborhood or something like that.
I know.
So I mean, it's important for everyone, I think.
It's so crazy. So now when you're thinking about the future and thinking about WestRock investments and all of those things and your goals and where do you see yourself going? Like, what are your big goals for WestRock? Now Patrick is in the hot seat.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, I have a lot of goals, but I mean, I think it's just, kind of more of everything, more and bigger. I would like to have more impact, with my businesses. I would like to, have more capital to invest, have more opportunities, make more connections with people, make deeper connections with people. I don't know that it will be necessarily different. I guess it's just an order of magnitude or something like that.
Okay. Now, if I'm a small business and I am interested in, finding investors, other people like you to invest in me, how do I make my business more attractive to you?
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a whole nother Kicking It with Kapok episode.